Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, happy weekend, tough Monday, hump day, whatever day you're listening to this on. I have no clue, but I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the Find Me in Seattle podcast. As always, I'm very excited to be here to talk to myself in this microphone, speaking into your ears. Thank you very much for listening to my show. Last week, I titled my show about Donald Trump, and lesson learned, I don't think you guys like that very much because I would say half the amount of people watched or listened to my show last week because the title was about Donald Trump. So lesson learned. Not going to do that anymore. You guys are probably getting enough political information or overwhelmed by all that information. And so note taken, Connor, let's not title something about Donald Trump because people don't want to listen to that, even though very little about maybe a lot of the show was. All right, take my own advice. Let's stop talking about that. It is Friday, October 9th, 2020, and it just keeps on going with the craziness, but I feel like I don't have so much bad news. Some interesting news. There are closings and changes. And so let's talk about it. We start this show every week with a This Week in Seattle news. And the first thing I want to talk about is the famous, iconic Pink Elephant Car Wash on Denny Way is being demolished. That car wash has been there since 1956. And on Wednesday, they announced that the property was going to be demolished. And there wasn't information that I saw about what is going to be taking place there. But if you gave me one guess, I bet it would be an apartment building with retail on the bottom, because that is what that whole Denny Triangle area has now become. And understandably so, we need more housing. That is extremely, extremely important. And so everybody knows this pink elephant neon sign that spins around and around forever here in our city and has been gracing our, I guess you could call it, skyline for generations. And everyone want to know what's going to happen with this pink elephant neon sign. Well, it has found a home. The Museum of History and Innovation, started by Jeff Bezos, sitting there on Lake Union in South Lake Union. They are going to be taking the sign. They are going to be updating it and refreshing it. So hopefully none of those lights are out, and they are going to be putting it in their museum. And it's an iconic piece of Seattle. I'm glad it's not getting demolished. It's going to go into this place. This Mohai Museum is super cool. If you get a chance to go, highly recommend you go there. I've been there twice, and I went with my parents and my little brother and Amanda a couple years ago and spent way more time there than I ever expected. And that's just where icons are going to live now here in Seattle. So I'm excited to see that there. And it's going to line up now with those famous Seattle icons like the Rainier R, the Rainier Brewery down on I-5, and at the Globe for the Seattle PI building. Both are still standing in their original locations, and they're iconic to the city, but those businesses are no longer in those buildings. So rest in peace to the Pink Elephant Car Wash. Almost 70 years of serving our city. I think car washes are really interesting in Seattle, and I relate them a lot to sunglasses. Some of you may know that Seattle is like one of the top markets in the country for purchasing sunglasses. Oddly, it rains 9 months out of the year. There's so little sun. You would think, why would so many sunglasses be getting bought? I think it really comes down to that people lose their sunglasses. Since they're not using them for 9 months, they misplace them. And so every summer comes back around and the sun finally comes out and they need to buy new sunglasses. I actually had that issue. I got a pair of glasses last April when I was best man in a wedding. They got all of these the brand is called Gooder, and everyone got these white sunglasses with yellow tints. Looked very good for the wedding photo. And they're my favorite glasses because they have like this blue tint in the filter, and they're great for driving in bright sun. And I hadn't been able to find them forever. And I wanted to take them to Thailand when I went in March and couldn't find them. Super disappointed that I couldn't take those glasses to Thailand because that was the sunniest time of the year for me. And while we were doing this moth, I updated you in a previous week about the moth exterminator adventure that we had. And while we were cleaning everything out, I had a pair of ski gloves that I pulled out of a box. And there are the glasses in the pouch shoved into the glove, my ski glove. I must have been like packing up and wanted to protect them a little bit in the bag, so I put them in the ski gloves, and then when I unpacked the ski gloves, I just didn't see the glasses there, and I lost them for almost a year, I would think. But I'm glad to have those back. But original point from the glasses was with car washes, and I think the same principle probably applies to car washes as it does to sunglasses. Is it rains so much, so people's cars are constantly getting dirty. Like the second the rain comes around, you take your car out, not from the rain, but from like all the dirt and grime that gets kicked up by the tires. Your cars get dirty really quickly. So I think a lot of people are going to get car washes, which is almost doesn't seem very logical, because wouldn't you say, hey, you go outside and you kind of get a free car wash by Mother Nature? However, it doesn't really rain that much, and I'm sure you guys know when it rains, your car really ends up getting more dirty and leaves water spots. And so I think car washes are super popular. Brown Bear Car Wash is huge all over, and it's going to be sad. I actually never went to the Pink Elephant Car Wash, and now I'm very disappointed in myself. When I saw this news, I was like, I need to go make a video to like memorialize this moment, and I don't even think it's open. So unfortunately, I missed that gold opportunity. It's one of those things that's like sitting in the center of your city that you see every single day, and you never go and be a patron of that place because you're just used to it and you see it, and then you never think about using it. That's one of the things. So it's like, man, I wish I got a car wash there just to say that I had, but we're going to miss you, Pink Elephant Car Wash. Your sign is an icon of the city, and it's going to be missed. Another icon of the city is Bartell Drugs. And Bartell has been serving Seattle for like something like 120 years, which is a long time, right? Think about all the things that Bartell Drugstore survived. They survived the Great Depression, right? And I'm not sure, who knows back in 100 years ago what that business was like. It could have been just a standalone store, and I don't know enough about their history about how they did survive, but I mean, all of the wars and the ups and downs and financial catastrophe and the changes of Washington ups and downs, they have finally sold their company to the big box retailer RiteAid for the sum of $95 million. They have 69 stores across Washington, and they sold for $95 million. When I first saw that number, I felt bad, because I don't feel like that's a lot of money. That sounds like, oh, that's a COVID 2020, like harsh reality of the world of selling the business for $95 million. I just wouldn't have thought, if you ran a business for 100 years and you had 69 retail locations, and these stores aren't tiny, and it was only worth $95 million. I'd be curious to know. I assume that means they don't own any of the properties, right? Because you assume just the assets of these properties would be worth a ton of money. Like there's one right down the street here in Lower Queen Anne. It's Lower Queen Anne, so highly doubt that they own that. They shut down one of the locations in downtown right after the June protests. And but I guess just a lot of these locations, especially if they are serving the city, had to get shut down because the dynamics of where people are changing so much. But the number did stick out to me in a weird way. 95 million for 69 stores, right? That's like 1.3 million per location. I would think that they were doing a lot better, but it also could mean that some locations were significantly better than a lot other ones. They also, RiteAid announced that they're going to be keeping the branding, keeping all the names, so it'll still keep that feel, and I believe 70 total jobs are going to be affected by that, so I'm not sure if that's on the corporate side. Probably not too significant to the people actually working in the stores. But that's a huge loss also for the city of Seattle. Bartell was a locally owned business, right? A decent-sized employer, just a brand that everyone here in at least Western Washington and Seattle knew about and recognized, and they had to sell. So for whatever reasons, they sold, and it's now owned by Rite Aid, and we're going to keep that name. But this is going to be the impacts. I think it's just going to be hard for local businesses, small family-owned businesses like this, to compete, and they're going to have to sell. I think this isn't the first, certainly isn't the last. This is going to be the side effects of what we're going through. Some of these businesses that can handle the downturns like Rite Aid and scale when it comes to buying are going to have a big advantage, and they're going to look at making purchases like this. So although it's good, I guess you could also say it's bad. It's not bad, but it's just sad that it's no longer going to be a locally owned business, which was a thriving principle of the business. And so what else we got going on? This week, the Seattle Storm, our WNBA team, won their second title in 3 years. They won in the what's called the Wubble, the women's bubble there in Florida. And it was over the Las Vegas Aces. I know we've talked about this in previous episodes. They swept them in 3 games. And last weekend was really cool because the Seattle Space Needle was lit up green. I'm sharing that on Instagram actually today if you want to go check out what that looks like. And they're holding a virtual celebration, which I'm a little disappointed about because I saw what the NWSL did in Houston. They had like a drive-by championship. The women's soccer obviously has less followers, so I'm sure this WNBA parade could have gotten a little out of control doing a drive-by parade. It's kind of tough. I guess we could have take everyone on Denny, done it down. 4th Avenue goes up, so you'd actually have to like start in Pioneer Square and go up, and maybe they're in the center. Yeah, it didn't work out. And so they're doing a virtual celebration. By the time you're listening to this, it's probably already over, but it's at 4 p.m. on Friday. And then some of the team are also raising the Storm flag at the Space Needle, which will be a little wet here later today. And I think we got some thunder and lightning happening this weekend. But congratulations to the Seattle Storm. That is super exciting. The Storm constantly get discounted in this city. They do not get enough hype. Even winning the championship, I still don't think they got enough hype as much as they should, but they deserve all the recognition possible because they are the champions. Way to go, ladies. I'm excited to join you at 4 o'clock for the celebration. We had a debate, not the debate maybe you're thinking about. Everyone watched the vice presidential debate, but little less known was our governor debate. Jay Inslee is running for, they're calling it a historic 3rd term for governor, and he's running against the Republican candidate. His name is Loren Culp, and I didn't watch the debate because I'm already pretty confident on who I'm voting for and how this year has handled. I think that person has earned my vote for how I felt we've done as a state here so far dealing with coronavirus. And I went on Twitter. Twitter was kind of biased. I saw Culp was trending, and there were some people who really thought that Culp was winning and really sticking it to Jay. And then I was reading, I was like, you know what? These are just all like Republican people that are tweeting about him. And when I went to the other side, there was way more tweets on the other side supporting the Democratic Jay Inslee. And I want to bring this up because I got the ballot book, and we're voting by mail, as we always do. What happens is we get sent this voter pamphlet with Mr. George Washington, our state flag, here on the front. It's got a book of all the candidates, everything we're voting for. Obviously, this year's election is a lot thicker than the other ones, and then we get the ballot as well in the mail, and we fill it out, we sign our name, we drop it in the mailbox or at a voting station. And I'm looking through this booklet when I first got it, right? Just be like, all right, what are the things I need to research and understand so I can make a well-educated vote? And there have definitely been times in elections where I haven't been as researched, and I take this book, and the book is what I've been making decisions on. Not this year, trust me, but in previous elections, especially the smaller ones, I have done that. And this book is super important about how you are represented, because I know there are people, even with this election, who are just going to look at this book and make a decision. So I turn to governor. I open up, it's on page 40 of your book if you're here locally listening to this, and I see Jay Inslee. Jay Inslee's statement takes up his whole half of the page dedicated to the statement. He's got elected experience, professional experience, education, and community service. These are standard things that you have to fill out when you apply for governor. And then I go to page 41, where Loren Culp is there. He prefers the Republican Party. And it says elected experience, no information. Other professional experience, no information submitted. Education, no information submitted. Community service, no information submitted. And then he's got a statement, which is about a paragraph long. And then he's got a contact that is 541 I think, isn't 541 a Oregon zip code or area code? That would be so weird if that's the case. That would just be so weird if he gave us an Oregon. But the point being, and I'm showing to people here on the video, is that his section is like completely empty. You had an entire page to convince us why you would be a better governor than Jay Inslee, and you didn't take any advantage of this book? Like, why? Why would you miss out on that? That's not helping your case whatsoever. It's going to be tough to get votes if you didn't even take the time to fill out that you have professional experience. I get that he is the chief of police, but no other professional experience, no education, no community service. You didn't put any of that here. Like, it just makes no sense on if that's how you're going to treat how you fill out this form to run for governor. I can't really trust you to how you're going to run our country, especially in a time where we desperately need you because, the world is crazy right now. Well, I guess that shows who I'm voting for if it wasn't obvious already. All right, I'm sorry, you guys. This recording could not be going worse right now. I went to go look up that area code 541 from the Loren Culp phone number, and I clicked my computer, and it stopped my recording on the podcast. And then when I get that all set back up, my battery dies here on my camera, and so I lost it there. So I'm sure this last 2 minutes has been a little confusing for you. My apologies. Let's jump back into the show. I want to talk about Canlis. Canlis is this probably our most famous restaurant here in Seattle. Family owned, run for decades, high-end dining. I think it's the last restaurant in the city. Like, a suit jacket is required when you came into the restaurant. Beautiful view looking on Lake Union. I still actually haven't even eaten there. A little out of my price range. And obviously the pandemic is affecting their restaurant dramatically because fine dining doesn't really exist when coronavirus is happening. And so I wanted to share this story because I thought it was pretty admirable. It's definitely not a business that I would talk about most of the time because they're getting plenty of publication. They don't need any promotion from me. But over the last 7 months, they've been doing all this pivoting, all this experimenting, trying different things. And that hustle mentality, I think, deserves the credit and respect. And so I want to shout this out because I admire business people who put this amount of work into doing something like this. So Mark and Brian Canlis and their team have had 10 different business concepts over the last 7 months dealing with COVID-19 and all the shutdowns and all the changes that we're going through here in the country. And so their dining rooms got shut down in March, and then they started making burgers. They were doing 1,000 burgers a day just for lunch. Their restaurant, which is sitting on this like more or less a highway on 99, is not a good place to have cars waiting to pull in, especially because it goes onto a bridge. There's nowhere to like turn around. Getting into that area is a disaster. And so they're doing 1,000 burgers a day, which they said wasn't scalable. Understandably so. They said they had a car, took them 45 seconds to serve each car. They're doing 1,000 burgers. That's just going to take a really long time for your lunch. Your burger is not going to be good. They don't have the infrastructure to serve at that kind of scale. Then they tried a bagel shed. They also tried a family meal box delivery service that would deliver to your house. Next, they tried a bottle service and wine service for cocktails, which I believe also had a video accompanying it. They did a bingo night with a virtual bingo set. And I want to say that came with dinner, but I don't quote me on that. And then they were doing CSA boxes full of different produce and products. And then they did a drive-in movie at their parking lot, which I thought was actually pretty cool and really innovative. The drive-in movie concepts were a great idea back in the summer. And then they did a crab shack in their parking lot, and the list, right, goes on and on. They're always like, that just must have been so crazy for them to be attempting all these different things, right? I think about all the different businesses that I've tried to start and create and the ones that I work with, and it takes so much planning, so much preparation, so much resource to not only come up with these ideas, but figure out how to execute them, market them, and drive customers. And so the newest experiment, and probably their best one, is the Canlis Community College. And what caught my attention when I first saw it, I was like, all right, here's the next thing that Canlis is doing. And I think this is really cool. And the reason being is I feel like over the last 7 months, they've probably learned so much about their industry and business and creating business models and finding holes in business models and then executing those things and iterating, shelving things, saying, all right, this didn't work. And so they have now this school. It's $25 to sign up, and they have this whole register of different classes. So here are some of the different things that they have. They have they're what you would think food and wine classes. They've got electives that cover like history, art, and culture. They have a kids animal adventures. They have a PE class that's happening. I know the one is with the Seattle Ballet Group, which is really cool. They have a sommelier office hours, TV dinners. They got take-home kits. I feel like they are taking a lot of the aspects and things that they learned over the last couple months and trying to not necessarily repackage them, but provide them in different ways and telling a story all within this community college concept. And they're collaborating with so many different unique people and experts across the city to provide this service. They've obviously invested so much in their content production and live streams when it came to the bingo and bottle service and all these other things that they were doing. That why not create this new system that is entertaining, is helpful, it's adaptive, it's interesting. I thought it was just really cool. And Amanda bought the $25 school package. She's actually done a few of the classes. I've not partaken personally in any of them yet, but I thought it was pretty awesome. And there's just, I think, real potential in this one. I'm not sure how many people bought the $25, and I'm curious about all the other experiments of what those numbers look like. But you've got to have a lot of respect for these guys and everyone there to each week be evolving and doing something else and trying to invent something else. They're lucky that they have this really, really famous name. Every media company out there covers them on every announcement, right? I'm looking at all these lists. I'm like, oh yeah, I've known about all of these because not just because I'm connected with the food industry, but every time they launch something new, from King 5 to Como, all picked it up, right, and covered it. So that helps when you have that resource and you have these media companies who are going to tell your story week in and week out. That is a huge, huge advantage. But I don't want to knock the fact that they have these resources, like the video, which was hilarious, that promotes community college. They have Bill Gates on the video, right? Like, it's not easy to get Bill Gates to help you with your storytelling. And it's about this idea, as like Bill said, he wasn't the one that gave him the idea for community college. And right, it's silly. Their video, check it out. It's linked below in the show notes here everywhere if you want to watch it. And it was fun. And the one thing I want to say about this, I bet that Mark and Brian are very, very thankful that last year they did these pop-up experiments before this whole shutdown. I remember they did a collaboration with Shake Shack before Shake Shack opened here, and they did a Shake Shack pop-up in their parking lot that was very similar, and it's probably why they went with burgers first, and it was extremely successful. Lines around the block. I think they also did a milk bar pop-up, and so they had this prior experience and knowledge with the execution of doing the pop-ups before, which provided them a huge leg up when it came to evolving. A lot of businesses don't have the resources to do something like this, and as I mentioned earlier, don't have the access to market it as well, right? I can imagine a lot of restaurant owners are looking at this and be like, not only is this a feat to execute these things, but how do you get the word out? You've got to already have some influence in the city to get the word out, and it's just super impressive. This is the first one that I was like, I really want to talk about this, because this is business people really being creative and really being putting the hustle out there, right? They're obviously struggling just like everyone else is, and for them to come up with all these different ideas and now to have this virtual community college is just deserves a lot of credit, because this is a lot of ideas all into one, and then executing it. You'll see their board in their video. Running an itinerary of all these classes, collaborating with all of these experts, this is their biggest task and feat that they've done, and I just think it's really cool. And for them to be experimenting with this is pretty awesome. I hope that it continues to bring them success, and they can kind of share this expertise with more people, and just very cool. And so shout out to everybody, the team especially there at Canlis, because this has just been a wild ride for them, and for them to try deserves recognition. Okay. All of this is just, my show is all over the place, you guys. Let's get into the things that we also do every week. We have my local business of the week is the Smith Tower Observatory. I partnered with them yesterday. I went, and what I was showing off is actually they're doing a giveaway connected to their election day ballot drop box. They have this copper mailbox inside the place. They're doing a speakeasy style because the door is locked. You have to walk up to Smith Tower, which is huge, click the button 3 times, the guy lets you in, and you can drop in your mail ballot in their vintage drop box. And they are doing a giveaway. If you take a photo with you dropping your ballot in the mailbox and you tag them and use their hashtag I voted, they're going to give a rum runner card and a bottle of what's called El Presidente. It's one of their barrel aged cocktails to go. The rum runner card, which you win, is really cool. This is what they actually gave me in exchange for promoting them. It's good for 1 year, 365 days from the day that you get it. It gives you 20% off on all the food, drinks, and retail up at the Observatory at the top. You also get free entry, which is anywhere from $12, I think, to $16, $18 to get up, and you get a +1. So I've had this card before, and it's just great to take a friend, take your wife, take your girlfriend, take your husband, take a client, take a prospective client, whoever it is, a visitor up there, which is a really cool view in this the original skyscraper of Seattle. And so you and that +1 always get free entry up there. So it's just a great way to take someone and have a unique experience. The bar up there is socially distanced. They only have a few tables available. And so, it was really cool I had this drink called the paper plane. They actually made a paper plane garnish, which I thought was really clever. And I think this was just a really fun promotion for them to say, hey, we have this mailbox here that's been operating for generations. Let's utilize it and provide another opportunity for people to drop their ballots and do a fun giveaway. It promotes them. I thought it was best of both worlds. And if you're in Pioneer Square and you got your ballot, we talked about the ballot earlier, go drop it off there. Why not? And if you want to take a picture, enter for their giveaway. I think that's pretty cool. So they are my featured local business of the week. Every week we also have the featured meal of the week, and this meal is a little different also because I wanted to give a shout out to my friend Aashay and his fiance Mona, who delivered this box of fresh produce to me. And Aashay is, since the day I met him, he is obsessed with becoming a farmer, right? He wants to create an evolution of local farming. And so he's enrolled in this class. He's got this little plot of land that he's been growing his own vegetables on. And he brought me this box. And so included in the box was vegetables that he picked that day. There are beets, carrots, multiple types of lettuce, char, cucumbers, all in there. And I had no clue what to do with this box of produce. That's not really my my cup of tea or something that I'm too experienced with, because my kitchen skills are very much lacking. But he gave me this big box. He also gave me some tips. His fiance Mona helped me with, like, here's how you can roast some of these. Here's how you can make some different dressings. And I just made this amazing salad, roasted the beets and the carrots, chopped it up with all the lettuce, and then I've eaten kind of everything else separately. And that was just the coolest meal that I had this week, because it was all fresh produce that one of my close friends grew and picked himself, and then he gave all these fresh vegetables to me. It was like, what better gift? How cool is that to, like, give your friend like fresh, healthy food that you grew yourself? I just thought that was so cool. That must be such a rewarding feeling. I felt rewarded just to be eating the food and to be given that. That was so cool. So shout out to you, Ash. Thank you so much to you and Mona for providing Amanda and I that food. I thought it was so cool and so nice of you and so delicious. I need to be better at eating fresh produce, supporting local farmers and produce. It was really cool and tasted great. Highly recommend check out your local farmers market, and you do the same. All right, that is about the end. I got a few last things here before we close out the show, but make sure to like, subscribe, and review, all of those good things. Your engagement is like the fuel to my business, so please make sure if you enjoy the show that you rate it 5 stars, or you give me a thumbs up on YouTube, or you like it wherever you are. Send me a message if you got any thoughts, or be like, Connor, you messed up so many times this week. I'd love to hear it. If you really want to take that support the extra way, you can go buy a shirt or hat on my website at findmeinseattle.com/shop. I'd appreciate you there as well. And if you want to find me in Seattle sticker, just shoot me a message, and I've got a bunch of stickers. I'll just mail it to you for free. I'm not even asking for anything. But if you want a sticker to put on your computer or your water bottle or something, please let me know. I have a video coming out today that's featuring the Funko Pop store out in Everett, those little cute big-headed figurines. They have their headquarters here in Washington. I visited their store, which has thousands of different toys for sale, and they've got these like larger than life scale replicas of the toys, from the Hulk and Iron Man to Dragon Ball Z characters and Batman and Star Wars characters. It's a really cool place. I'm excited to launch this video, and I hope you like it. Make sure to wash your hands, wear your mask, treat people with respect, especially those service workers. People are putting themselves at risk right now being outside, and do your research on the election this year. Good luck, and we'll see you next Friday for another episode of the Find Me in Seattle podcast. See ya.